So just some reminders before we get into the video. First reminder is to make sure that you're keeping an eye out and an ear out for the key word for this lesson. Reminder number 2 is to make sure you're taking notes. Include the date, lesson number, aim, and standards to help you refer back in your notes. Let's get to it. Okay, so welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about adding integers. Our aim for today is how do we use different strategies to add integers. I'm going to show you the strategy that has been the most successful with my students in the past. Again, if you find your own, we can use that as well. So this is where we introduce your positive and negative numbers using your operations, specifically addition. Then we're going to get into subtraction, multiplication, and division. So here we go with lesson number 4. So this strategy, you're going to first ask yourself, am I going to have an example like on the left where you have -5 plus -2? Or do I have an example where I have on the right -9 plus 3? So those two examples are very different because this example on the left, you have two negative numbers you're adding together. And then you have on the right a negative and then a positive number that you're adding together. So you need to determine, first off, does the computation have the same sign? So let's go to the left. If you have the same sign, whether it's positive or negative, you are going to add those values up. So here you have -5 and -2. 5 plus 2 is going to give you 7. Well, there's our answer, 7, but now we have to deal with the sign. When you're adding the same sign together, you want to make sure you're keeping the sign, whether it's a positive or a negative. So here you keep the sign. And that's how you get a -7. On the right, you don't have the same sign, so you have to take the values 9 and 3. You're going to find the difference between the values. And the difference between 9 and 3 is going to be 6. Now here's where absolute value comes into play with adding integers. You're going to make sure you're going to take the sign of the larger absolute value. So take the sign of the larger absolute value. And this is going to make more sense when we go over it. So the larger absolute value between -9 and 3. So we have the absolute value of -9 and then the absolute value of +3. Absolute value of -9 is 9. Absolute value of 3 is 3. Well, -9 has the larger absolute value. Therefore, we are going to take the negative symbol from the 9 and make sure that our answer is that sign, a negative. So that's how we get a -6. Let's try it. Our first example is that we have a -6 and a +4. So the first thing I want to say, are they the same sign? They are not. No. They're different signs. So we have a negative and a positive. We want to take the difference between the two of them. So 6 minus 4, we're left with 2. So 2 in some way is going to be our answer, but we have to make sure we're taking the larger absolute value, the sign. So we have -6, the absolute value of 4. The absolute value of -6 is going to be +6. The absolute value of 4 is going to be +4. -6 is our winner. It is the larger absolute value. So that means our sign for our answer will be negative, and our answer is -2. So what I'm going to show you next is how we can use manipulatives. So in the class, in a different setting, you would have these tokens, or you can use different colors. Usually we would use red and yellow. So I'm going to say, let's do orange. I think, oh, well, we're going to go orange. Let's try this. All right, so if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So orange is our negative. We have positive 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you think about it, a positive and negative are going to cancel each other out. We have a positive 1 minus 1. It's going to equal 0. So therefore, if we have an orange dot and a yellow dot, they're going to cancel out. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's left are our negative orange dots, and there are 2 of them. So that lines up with how we get our negative 2. Again, there are multiple ways that you can solve adding, or when you're adding adding integers. Let's try number 2. Now here's the thing, when you have numbers like negative 24 and 56, you might not want to use manipulatives because you get a lot more. So maybe you just want to go with the rule, but again, it's up to you. Whatever you feel more comfortable with. But again, here you notice that you have a negative number and a positive value. So they are not the same. So that means we're going to find the difference between the two values, and then we're going to make sure we're taking the sign of the larger absolute value, which here we can tell is going to be 56. So our answer will be positive. We just have to figure out what our 56 minus 24 is going to be. Our 56 minus 24 will give us 32, and our answer is a positive 32. Again, you don't need to write positive 32 because we already know if there's no negative symbol, we automatically can tell it's positive, our answer. Let's move on to number 3. So for number 3 and 4, try it on your own. Make sure you pause the video, and we'll go over it after. So for number 3, we have a negative 52 and we're adding negative 35, which means we have the same sign. So if we have the same sign, all we have to do is add the two values together and keep your sign, which will be negative. We have 52 plus 35. It's going to give us 87. So our negative 87 is our answer. Okay, for number 4. Negative 13 plus 13. So we have different signs, so they're different. We want to make sure we're taking the absolute value of the larger number, which here they're both equal. So here we have negative 13 and you're adding 13. That's kind of like what we were talking with the first example, where a negative and a positive are going to cancel out if they're the same value. So if you have negative 13, you add 13 to it, you're going to get 0. That is your answer. Now, they're opposite values. There's a special term for negative 13 and positive 13. These are called additive inverses. You're adding inverse values or opposite values together. That's going to always get you 0. Okay. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure you write them down. You could ask me later, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.